Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Happy So What Day. I hope you had a great holiday weekend. Tuesday just kind of snuck up on us, didn't it? Also sneaking up on us is the Halloween season, the spooky season. So I've got a little bit of Halloween decor I'm sporting today, and I'm going to share with you a couple of appropriate Halloween projects so you can get to your sewing, schedule it out, have everything ready for your spooky celebrations, or whatever you choose to do for Halloween. I love decorating for Halloween, as you all know, because I talk about it all the time. It's one of my favorite holidays to sew for because we get to use all of those fun specialty threads like glowy, neon, metallics, reflective thread, all of those fun threads to create really cool special effects. And actually, this table runner behind me is quilted with glowy thread. So when the lights go out, there's a little bit of a glow behind me, and it's just a really, really fun thread to work with. So the project that I'm going to share with you today is a couple of pillows, and they're on the small side. I would say about like so, kind of like a stuffed animal size. And I mean, I know stuffed animals nowadays can get as large as a small child, but let's just say a standard stuffed animal size. So they're really great for, little decorative pillows, little shelf sitter pillows, or you can even create a set and gift it to a little one. They might even go together with a great Halloween costume. So if you plan on, dressing up as a skeleton or something like this, then these pillows will go together with your costume really, really well. So I'm going to get to that momentarily. And if you are interested in this bat wall hanging, it's actually adapted from a pattern by Cluck Cluck Sew. And I did a whole blog post on taking the blocks from that quilt pattern and arranging them differently to create a table runner. Sometimes we love a quilt pattern, but we don't necessarily want an entire quilt made of bats. I mean, I do, but sometimes we just fall in love with a quilt block or the style of a quilt. You can always take one or more of those blocks in a quilt pattern and arrange them to create all different kinds of things. You can also resize those blocks to create smaller projects. So you could take one of these bat blocks. This is just made of 3 bat blocks, and the bat is arranged different ways. So you piece it together a little bit differently, depending on, a right or a left or a horizontal bat. You could take just one of those blocks and create a Halloween pillow out of it. So, think outside of the quilt box, if you will, and you can mix and match and do all sorts of things to make things your own. And that's part of the reason that we're here on So What, is to, bounce ideas off of each other, come up with new ways of, doing a different pattern, those types of things. So as I'm going through our pillow project today, let me know your thoughts. What are you going to use it for? You could also use the applique templates that I'm going to show you momentarily and create a pillow out of a pillow. I'm going to show you how to do a pillow. You could create a wall hanging or a table runner or a placemat set, all kinds of different things using the same components of this pillow pattern. All right, so lots of people coming in and saying hello. Ooh, you know what would also be really cute is if you take the pillow pattern, which let me just bring it up here. So these are the pillows I'm going to show you today. It's a dog and a cat with skeleton appliques, okay? And the appliques are absolutely free on the Sulky blog. You can find this PDF pattern. You can print out the dog, print out the cat, or print out both of them, create a set. And then we're going to applique these on using Sulky glowy thread. So when they glow in the dark, you will just see the skeleton outlines, because the black Felty is just going to, melt into the nothingness of darkness, right? So we're going to use Sulky Felty, we're going to use Sulky Perfect Applique, and we're going to use glowy thread to create these cute little pillows. And like I said, they work great as little Halloween stuffies. You can even, this is where I was going with it, you can size the appliques down, size the pattern down, and create some little hanging ornaments. So cute. All right, and these go really, really well, I thought, with our Sugar Skull little air freshener covers that we did a while back. So I'm also going to kind of go over these with you today too, because I thought they were just really great complements to each other. These are made in the hoop of your embroidery machine, and they're also made out of Sulky Felty. And these ones feature Sulky neon thread. So got all those great, really, really bright colors for Halloween, Day of the Dead, all of that stuff coming up. So this is going to be our giveaway today for one lucky viewer who is watching, commenting, giving me those emojis, somehow engaging with me today during the post. That's all you have to do to be automatically eligible to win today's gift from Sulky, which is going to be the kit to create these Sugar Skull air freshener covers. So this is what that kit looks like. It comes with all these great sheets of Sulky Felty, a 1-yard pack of Sulky Stiffy Stabilizer, our Glowy sampler pack, a spool of our neon sampler pack, a spool of the white Glowy thread as well, and then some other poly deco colors that you can use to construct your air freshener covers in the hoop. And then, of course, you will also get a pack of needles to create your little air freshener covers. Now, another thing is not only are these used for air fresheners, right? So this would be if you use one of those little tree air fresheners that you get at the car wash or at the big box store, right? You can cover up those little trees with this cute little hanging skull. Now, if that isn't your thing, I know there's a lot of people who don't like those air fresheners for their car. They're a little bit too strong, maybe. You can also use this for a gift tag. You can also use this as a lollipop cover. I actually love this idea. If you're having a party for Halloween or Day of the Dead celebration of some sort, or even if you're doing like a kid's party, something like that, these would be really cute for Halloween. You can put your lollipop inside and then it comes out the little hole at the top. That's where you would actually pull your elastic through for your air freshener cover, but this time it's covering up a lollipop. And it's completely open at the bottom, along the jawline, so you can get your candy in and out that way. So really, really cute little candy cover. I love that idea as well. So I'm going to take you through that project too, since that's our giveaway today. Really exciting because it has over a $68 retail value. So this is a really, really great gift from Sulky today for one lucky viewer who is watching and commenting. Just tell me where you're from, ask a question in the live chat. That's all you need to do. You also need to either like us on Facebook if you haven't already, or subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're watching there. That way I can contact you if you happen to be the winner. So yes, yay from Sulky. That's such a great door prize or, prize or gift for today's So What. All right. Also, before we get into our project, I did want to let everybody know that our Bali tour closed, let's see, yesterday? Wait, what day is today? 2 days ago? October? What month are we in? It closed August 30th and we sold out. So our tour to Bali is sold out. It's going to be really, really exciting time. I can't wait to tell you all about it. It is happening October 5th through the 14th. So I will be able to report back before Halloween even hits us and let you know how our Bali tour went. I am in the thick of creating some really fantastic kits for everyone for our sewing workshop that we are going to be having there. And yes, batik fabrics are involved, of course. So that's going to be super fun. And if you would like more information on our next tour, we will be headed to India in March. So you can join us for this spectacular tour of India. It is an incredible itinerary. You really need to go to our site on the Craft Tours page or our Sulky page on the Craft Tours site and check out this itinerary. It is chock full with all the quintessential things you would want to do in India, plus more. We are going to be really, really focusing on embroidery during this tour, checking out some amazing artisans along the way, doing some golden embroidery work. It's just going to be incredible. We have a sunrise Taj Mahal trip planned. It's just, there are so many things that are going into this tour. You really, really need to check it out. I know that there are a few people registered already, so shout out to all of you early birds. And if you do get in early on this tour, early as in now, you can get on a payment plan with Craft Tours. And that just makes it a little bit easier to, manage the cost of the trip up until we depart in March. So that's a really, really great way to go about it. So it, just makes it a little bit easier to get yourself there financially. And if you have any questions on this tour, you can reach out to us at info@sulky.com. If you have questions about that payment plan or questions about how Craft Tours works, you can get a hold of Craft Tours there on their website as well. You just go to the link that I posted in the description of today's live stream, and you can contact Craft Tours directly to get on the Sulky India tour for March. And then in May, we will be headed to Greece. That's right, everyone. Every time I say the word Greece, I just think of Mamma Mia. I just can't help myself. I'm super excited about that trip as well, and I can't wait to share with you when that one's up on the site. I know a lot of you have been asking about the Greece tour, so we are doing our best to get that one up so you can register for that as well. All right, so Linda is talking about the pillow project. We will get into it right now. She says, this would be great for my granddaughters since they love the movies Coco and Encanto. Coco is one of my favorite Disney movies. Can I just say, I ugly cried during that movie. I mean, Mama Coco. I love that movie so much. I think it's just absolutely spectacular. So yes, this is a really great accompaniment to that, as well as our sugar skulls that I'm going to go through momentarily. So let's get into our Felty pet skeleton pillows. And again, you can find this entire project on the Sulky blog. That's where you can head on over and get the PDF patterns for the applique templates. So you can choose either the cat or the dog, or you can grab up both of those. They're actually packaged together. So when you go to print them out, they will both come on 2 pages of paper. So you'll need to tell your printer which pages you want to print, unless you want to print all of the patterns, okay? There's also a reference page, which is the last page of the pattern. You may not want to print that. You can just reference it on your tablet or your computer, but you can also print it as well. It just kind of helps you place all of the little bones. It's just helpful to have that reference page next to you while you are placing those onto your black Felty background fabric, so that you know where all of them go, because there are a lot of little applique pieces involved. So as I mentioned, you're going to need all these products for these pillows, and they are rather small pillows, I mentioned, because we're going to be using Sulky Felty on the roll. And the roll, how wide is that roll? Let me just double check, because I don't want to misspeak. So I need to consult my trusty sulky.com so that I get this correct. I can never really remember every last dimension of everything that we sell on the website. Okay, so it's 9.84 inches. All right, so just under 10 inches wide. So that gives you an idea of how big your stuffy or your stuffed pillow is going to be, right? It's going to be a little bit smaller than an 11-inch, tall piece of paper. That's how wide it's going to be. Everybody with me? All right, so just under 10 inches wide. And then as you can see, once you tape your pattern together, it's a little bit taller than that, 8.5, whatever. So if I had to guess, our pillows are going to be around, let's say, 12 by 9-ish inches. Okay, just kind of ballparking it, taking those paper appliques into account. So really great that we can use Sulky Felty by the roll, use the whole width of the Felty, and then you'll unroll it to create the height that you need for your pillow. So we need a roll of the black Felty. That's going to be our background for the pillow. So we're going to need a front and back for each animal that we are creating. And then also Sulky Felty in the white color. That's going to be our bone applique pieces. We're also going to need a spool of 50 weight cotton thread in the black color. That's what we're going to use for constructing the pillow. And the 50 weight cotton thread is a really great sort of all-purpose thread. I use it a lot for pillows. I even use it for garments. I use it in my serger a lot. It's really, really great long staple, high quality thread. So that's what we're going to use for construction. And then that white spool of thread that you see there is our white glowy thread. And somebody in the comments said, excuse me, glow in the dark thread. If you've never heard of Sulky Glowy, now is the time to dive in, get yourself a sampler pack of that glowy thread, and have the best time making everything for Halloween and beyond. It is so fun to work with. So our sampler pack of glowy thread has all the glowy colors. So it's like pink, purple, yellow, orange, blue, green, okay? So the white glowy thread does not come in that sampler pack. So if you grab up a sampler, you're also going to want to grab up the white glowy thread spool, because that's what we're going to use for the bone appliques to secure our appliques in place. And it's going to outline all of those bone pieces so that when you shut the lights off, the bone pieces glow. Really, really cool. I'll show you what that looks like as well. All right, let's see. Jana says, is there a kit for the pillows? There is no kit for the pillows, so you will need to grab up these things individually. Also, you're going to need Sulky Perfect Applique Fusible Web. And yes, we can use fusible web on Felty, because even though Felty looks like wool felt, feels like wool felt, has a really nice, soft, beautiful hand to it, which is why it makes really great pillows, it is polyester. So you can wash it. You can use wash away stabilizer on it. You can use stick and stitch on it if you want to applique things. And you can fuse things to it. So we can use Perfect Applique and applique our pieces, fuse them down, making sure they're not going to go anywhere over the life of the project. All right, let's see. Jana says, would you recommend sewing over the same spot multiple times for better glowy effect? That's a great question. So if you're doing a straight stitch with glowy, yeah, try a triple straight stitch. That's going to give you really, really great coverage on those areas. And I'm going to tell you some tips for getting the best glowy effect as well on these appliques as we move forward. I do also want to mention that this fantastic project is designed by Ashley Huff. She is a designer for National Quilter Circle, National Sewing Circle. She used to work for Sew News Magazine and Creative Machine Embroidery. She's a really, really fantastic quilt designer. She's done a number of things for us. And this is just another really great pattern, courtesy of Ashley Huff. All right, let's see. Just making sure I'm caught up on questions as they're coming in. And yes, the thread is linked in the description of today's post. So if you're not seeing, the link to our Craft Tours trip page, or the link to all the featured products, or the link to this blog post where you can get the applique patterns, be sure to click on that See More button, or it might just say More depending on where you're watching from. Click on that and the whole description will pop out. You'll find live links to everything I'm talking about: the Felty, the perfect applique, the glowy thread, and of course, our pet pillow project applique patterns. All right, so once you've gathered all of your supplies, as I mentioned, you want to go ahead and print the pages that you want for the pillow that you're making. So of course you're going to want to make a set, right? But you might want 2 cats, 2 dogs, or a cat and a dog, right? It all depends on your personal preference. So here's what the cat looks like. It's going to print out on 2 pages. And what you're going to do is, it's a little bit hard to see. I'm going to see if I can make this a little bit bigger for you. Notice at the bottom of the cat on that top page and the top of the cat on the bottom page, there's a little line going across, okay? So on one of those pages, you want to trim the piece of paper along that line and then overlap it so that it matches up with the pattern piece below. Does that make sense? So we're going to tape those together, and that's really the easiest way to do it, so you don't have that overlapping, match point, right? So trim it off and then match it up, tape it together, and now we've got our outline. The outline is the pillow itself, and then the bone pieces are our applique pieces. All right? So now we've got our pattern, and we've got to cut out all those applique pieces, and then we also need that outline for cutting out our pillow itself. So make sure that you keep that outer piece a little bit intact when you are cutting out all those bone pieces. Just kind of slice through it on one side, cut out all those bone pieces, and then keep that piece intact so you can use it to cut out your cat when your appliques are completed. All right. So first off, if you cut around that outline piece, we are going to cut our black Felty along the outline. So I was a little bit confused earlier when I said keep it intact, because I forgot that we are going to cut these pieces out first. That makes total sense and is a much better way of going about it. Thank you, Ashley. So first off, you're going to cut around the outline of your animal that you have chosen so that you can use that to cut out a front and a back from your Felty. So notice how she took full advantage of that full width of the Felty roll. The tail is just kind of grazing it, and the other side is as well. So make sure that you're placing it so that you get, the most width of your Felty, and then you'll cut out your front and back of your animal. Now we can trace all of the skeleton pieces onto our fusible web. That way we don't have to cut all of these out of the paper and try to trace around them. So I apologize for steering you all in the wrong direction earlier. I was doing like old school applique in my head, completely, working on holiday weekend brain. So at this point, we are going to take our pattern and trace it onto the paper side of the fusible web. All right. So all the pieces, and make sure you transfer the numbers of the applique. It's just going to make it much easier to reassemble your skeleton onto your background fabric. So once we have all of those drawn onto that paper side of the fusible web, now we're going to go ahead and fuse that whole piece onto our white Sulky Felty. And you can kind of take a look at the roll. It's going to roll off so that you're looking at the right side of the Felty, but it's very difficult to see the right and wrong side. So just kind of, choose one if you're a little bit, if you can't really tell the right or wrong side, don't get too worried about it. So we're going to take that whole perfect applique sheet where we have transferred all of these great appliques, fuse it onto that the Felty wrong side, and now we can go ahead and cut it out. That way we are only cutting out these pieces one time when we're on the Felty and we've got the perfect applique fusible web already attached. So you'll cut out all those pieces and we're going to place them onto our black Felty animal outline piece that we've already cut out. And this is where that reference sheet really comes in handy. So you can be sure you're placing, 1, 2, 3, go down the vertebrae, get the tail all in order, make sure that all of your pieces are following each other as intended. All right. I know this is a lot of pieces to cut out. People are asking if they can use their scan and cut. This is just a PDF pattern. So it's meant for this fusible applique process that I'm talking about. But if you do it this way, you only have to cut out these pieces one time. Make sure you're using really great sharp scissors so that you can get accurate cuts. And it goes together rather quickly. They're very small pieces. So just be sure that you've labeled them so that you can keep them all in order. All right, so once we have all of our pieces cut out, also make sure that you are removing the paper backing of the fusible web so that when you are placing them, you only have to place them once. You don't have to place them and then go back, peel away the fusible web, and then get it all in order again. All right, so remove the paper backing, get all of your pieces onto the background fabric, and then we're going to go ahead and fuse those in place. So you might find that you need to fuse from the right side as well as you can, and then carefully turn it over and also fuse from the wrong side. This will just make sure that that fusible web is getting a really good bond because we've got, some thicker fabric that we're working with. It's that Felty. So we really want to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere and that all these pieces are fused down really well. So of course, before flipping it over, make sure that they're at least tacked down, a little bit. They should be, relatively good. I just like to turn it over and make sure and give it another press from the, black Felty side to make sure we've got a really good bond. All right, so now we get to go over to the sewing machine. We're going to thread it with Glowy thread in the needle. We do need a larger needle eye because this Glowy thread has like a bit of a coating to it, right? That's what makes it glow in the dark. So you need a little bit larger needle eye to accommodate the thickness of this thread. So you're going to go up to a size 90-14 needle. When you use the 50 weight cotton, which is what we're going to use to construct the pillow, you need to go way down to a size 70-10 needle. And, that 50 weight cotton is a lot lighter weight than this Glowy thread. The Glowy thread really acts like a 30 weight thread, almost. So 90-14 needle with the Glowy, 70-10 needle with the 50 weight cotton thread. All right. So we've got our 90-14 needle. We're threading it with Glowy. We are having the 50 weight cotton thread in the bobbin. We want a little bit lighter weight thread or a lot bit lighter weight thread in the bobbin so that the top thread kind of goes a little bit around to the back side. We don't see any of that bobbin thread. It's all just Glowy on the top. All right, so I want you to take a look at this stitch selection as well. Now, you can choose whatever stitch you want to use on your sewing machine to secure these appliques. But for the greatest glowy effect, we found that a really tight blanket stitch worked really, really great to give you the most thread coverage without it being, a full satin stitch. And when the lights go out, this almost looks like a satin stitch anyway. I'll show you what it looks like in the end here. So notice how the stitches for the blanket stitch are really close together, But the blanket stitch is also creating that little edge stitch around the outside of the felty piece, as well as biting into each one of the appliques as well. So you get a really great outline of each piece, and then some definition or some detail with that thicker thread biting into it in a really great coverage. So if you did want to do just a straight stitch inside of each applique edge, I definitely would consider going over it a couple of times or picking a triple straight stitch so that you do get maximum glowability on all those applique pieces. Now, it is a little bit time consuming. We've got a lot of bones to stitch around. So put on your favorite music, maybe put on some spooky Halloween music, get in the mood, and I think you'll find it really enjoyable. I mean, quite honestly, sewing anymore is so much about cutting and not that much time at the sewing machine. So maybe you'll have, your sewing machine or your sewing zen will come back into, your life with this project because you actually get to do a lot of actual sewing. So it can be rather therapeutic, let's say. All right, so someone's asking, what foot are you using? So this is just a standard presser foot. If you have an open toe applique foot, I really like using those for fusible appliques because the whole front of the foot is open, so you can really see what you're doing and you can watch the stitch being formed. It's really helpful as you go around these curves as well, so that when you're pivoting to really make those curves nice and curvy, you can really see what you're doing and where to position the needle when you're stopping and starting. You always want to have your needle along the right side or the edge of, just past the edge of your applique when you are pivoting around the corners. That way it's not biting into the applique fabric and then you go to pivot and you have this open area along the outer edge of your applique. Does that make sense? So always kind of stop and start and pivot with your needle down, just beyond the edge of your applique. Also, if you happen to have a machine that kind of automatically lifts the presser foot just slightly when you take your foot off of the pedal, super helpful when doing all these curves where you need to kind of stop and start and pivot and all those good things. All right, so after we get all of those bones appliqued down, all you need to do is put your second black felty animal over the top of your beautifully appliqued pillow or pillow top, and you're just going to stitch the perimeter, leaving an opening for turning. And, where you place that opening is kind of up to you, but I think it's best to kind of do it along one of the ears or along one of the inner legs where you don't have a lot of curves to contend with. Make sure that you're picking your opening along, a relatively straight area. That way, when you turn it right side out, it's a little bit easier to stitch up that opening and have it follow along the curve. Another tip is when you are sewing your animal applique pillow perimeter, pick your opening, put pins or something on either side of your opening, and you can kind of flip it back and just straight stitch along one side using your 1/4 inch seam allowance. Or this might be a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I can't remember. I apologize. Then when you turn it right side out, you can follow that stitching line with your little bit of hand sewing to stitch up your animal. And that way you're following that curve exactly right according to the pattern because you have straight stitched along that seam allowance. Makes sense? All right, so after you've turned it right side out, you might find it helpful to use our Sulky multi-purpose turning tool. You can run that tool along all of those curvy edges. I'm going to show you what that looks like here. For those of you who don't already have a Sulky multi-purpose turning tool, if you did take advantage of our fall mystery box, one of these was in there, I believe. I'm not mistaken. Hopefully I'm not getting it confused with another mystery box. At any rate, this is what that tool looks like. So on one end, it's kind of like an egg shape. We've got sort of a blunt point on one side and then a rounded edge on the other. So it looks kind of like an egg. So this is really great for going up into the inside of that pillow and run this along all of your seam lines to kind of make sure that your seam allowances are open, you're getting inside of there. You can even use this when you are stuffing this with your fiber fill. Get your fiber fill in there, and when you need to get it into those ear points or up into the tail area, you can kind of use this and push it up all along the seam line of the entire pillow, and then you can start filling it full to your desired plumpness. All right. Now this side of the turning tool is very small. It still has a ballpoint tip to it, but it's very, very tiny. And I would avoid using this side on this particular pillow because we don't want to accidentally pop through any of those seams. This is really good as like what is it called? A stiletto. Even when you're doing those appliques, you can kind of hold things down as you're moving. And I would much rather have this get close to the needle than this get close to the needle. Know what I mean? All right. So we're going to stuff it full. Then we are going to sew up our opening shut. So you just need a little bit of hand sewing. Your opening is going to be about 3 to 4 inches, something like that. Just do a little whip stitch using that 50 weight cotton thread in the black color, and your pillow is complete. So of course you are also going to want to make the dog version, and here's what he looks like. So adorable. Absolutely love him. And then here's what it looks like when the lights go out. Right? I mean, come on. It is an amazing pillow. If you have like a windowsill or something like that on Halloween night, you could put these little guys in your windowsill. Wouldn't that be so cute when the lights go out and your trick-or-treaters come calling at your door? Love it. So here's what the dog looks like, all glowy, glow in the dark. Here's what our little cat looks like. Love her. I don't know why she's a she, but she's a she. All right, so I hope you make your glowy set of pillows. And someone has a question up here. Could you trim the back piece to fit the front, then blanket stitch around the perimeter in standard black thread? I see what you're saying. So instead of turning it right side out, you just want to blanket stitch the perimeter and stuff it, right? Am I hearing this correctly? I mean, I think that would work. You just want your blanket stitch to be really close together. I would actually almost straight stitch, leaving your seam allowance raw because, your Felty isn't going to fray. But, that's entirely up to you. What type of stuffing works best? I like to use Polyfill. It's a Fairfield brand stuffing, but it's really your personal preference. And you don't need a lot. You don't have to stuff these to the brim, Your stuffability is really personal preference, how plump you want it. But again, I think these would look really cute if you resized it, made it even a little bit smaller. You might want to get rid of some of the bones. If you make it smaller, maybe make the tail bones a little bit longer and get rid of some of those little pieces. But you could make these into some really small ornaments and just stuff them a little bit. Maybe have a little Halloween tree or hang them from a tree that you have outside. that maybe has lost its leaves by Halloween night. Then you have these little glowy pets hanging from the tree. That would be really cute as well. Barb says, do you need to clip Felty for the curves? You know, I find that I don't really need to. It doesn't have like a huge amount of stretch to it at all. But you might want to clip into it just to reduce a little bit of the bulk along the seam line. But, you know, for this, I don't think Ashley did that step. And you can see hers look very curvy and really nice. But again, that tool, which, why do I always lose these things? They're right next to me. This tool is really great for kind of smoothing along the seam line as well, but it can't hurt to clip into those curves a little bit. So that's a really great tip. All right. Glow in the dark is so cool. My grandkids love glow in the dark anything. I know, so do my kids. And they will just take it into the bathroom, shut off all the lights. It's so fun to watch. They really, really get a kick out of it. This thread is so, so fun. And you know, even if your kids or grandkids or nieces and nephews, even if they really, really love that purchased costume from Costco or wherever, which just kind of makes me cringe a little bit when my kids don't want me to make them a costume. I know it's super convenient, and I know some kids just fall in love with them. At any rate, even if they grab one of those up, you can take it and add a little bit of glowy thread along the edge of a princess costume, or reflective thread and top stitch along some of the elements of a costume, and just kind of give it a little bit of a handmade touch and a little bit of special effects using these fun threads. So, you know, think about using them in that way as well. Can you do machine embroidery with Glowy? You can. However, keep in mind that it is a little bit thicker thread. So you don't want to use it for areas of a design that have a lot of dense fill stitches in them. If you have like a quilting design, a line art design, or you want to use it for the outer portion of, let's say, these sugar skulls. So that bean stitch that goes along the outside of the sugar skulls, or the straight stitches that are making all of those, you know, like around the teeth. I know that these teeth on this design are done with glowy thread, so that when the lights go off, you see the skeleton teeth. So you can substitute it for certain areas of certain designs. So either make sure that they are digitized for a little bit heavier weight thread, or just use that thread sparingly and make sure to choose areas of the design that are just line art or straight stitches. So we wouldn't do the whole butterfly, let's say, in all glowy thread, because the thread is just too thick for that area. It's going to be like the stitches like stack on top of each other. So you could have thread breakage and problems with your bobbin when you're doing that. So you do want to just be mindful of the fact that that thread's a little bit thicker, and use it for just straight stitches only in machine embroidery. Okay. All right, so let's get to these sugar skulls. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of this project because we have restocked these kits for the holidays, and this is our giveaway for one lucky viewer who is watching and commenting and engaging with me here today. So I wanted to go through the project just real quickly. It's done in the hoop of your embroidery machine. And if you do want a longer tutorial or some help with this project, we have a free webcast that's all on demand. You can watch it at any time. All you have to do is register for it, add it to your account at sewingonline.sulky.com, and you can watch the whole video cast with Suki Sews, Sue O'Very. So Sue O'Very designed this project for Sulky, did a webcast with us. She's so fantastic and a great teacher. So if you want to watch that and you missed out when we aired it live, you can watch it on demand and get all the instructions for this project. So I'm just going to go over it quickly since it's the giveaway for today. The giveaway is the kit for this project. And as I mentioned, you can use it to house an air freshener, one of those tree air fresheners. It's specifically sized to fit one of those. So this is a good size project. It fits in a 5x7 hoop, and the entire thing is done in the hoop. There's no hand sewing required at all. And you'll get a set of 3 designs that are done in the hoop, all of these that I just showed you. So the one with the cross, the one with the butterfly applique, and the one with the key. These all come with purchase of the kit. You can use it as a car air freshener cover, or you can use it as a gift bag tag, or you can also use it as a candy holder. A lollipop fits just so nicely in here because the stick of the lollipop comes out of the top area, and then the lollipop is housed underneath where it opens up along that jawline seam. All right, and that outer stitching line is done in the white glowy thread, and the teeth are done in the white glowy thread. The rest of the thread is Sulky neon. Neon is another really great special effects thread for Halloween. We have 6 packs of neon available, just like we have 6 packs of glowy available as well. And then there's also some poly deco thread that is included with the kit for this project. The poly deco is used as sort of the construction thread or the construction steps of the in the hoop project. That way you're not using your pretty decorative specialty threads for parts that kind of aren't really seen, right? We don't want to waste any of that beautiful thread by using it in an area that no one's going to see. All right, you also need some bobbin thread, and there is a spool of bobbin thread also included in this kit because, again, we're not going to use our pretty specialty thread in the bobbin and then cover it up by the back of the air freshener cover. What would be the point of not seeing your glowy, right? So you need just some regular 60 weight bobbin thread for this as well. And then we're actually using a top stitch needle for this. Top stitch works really great for these specialty threads. The glowy, the neons, our metallics also work really well with top stitch needles. And then you need some sheets of Sulky Felty. The great thing about this kit is we've curated these really great colors for Halloween, so you don't have to go grabbing an assortment pack of the rainbow, an assortment pack of the neutral, or rolls of all these colors, unless you're going to make, 25 of them for an entire school class or something like this. All right, so you'll get 5 sheets of Sulky Felty for this kit, and that's what you need to create the 3 that I showed you previously. So first up, we're going to hoop only the stabilizer. And for this, we need a pretty heavyweight stabilizer. We're going to use Sulky Stiffy Stabilizer. Stiffy is about double, maybe even between double and triple the thickness of Sulky Tear Easy, okay? But Stiffy is also a tearaway variety. So the reason we want to use a tearaway for this is because we can tear it away really cleanly along that outside stitching line, and you don't have any stabilizer remaining in your little seam allowance that's left behind. So we won't be able to see any of that when it's hanging. If we're using it as an ornament, these would be really cool on a Halloween tree as well. So if we're using it as an ornament or a gift tag or what have you, you don't see any of that stabilizer after we cut out our air freshener cover. All right, so hoop up your Sulky Stiffy Stabilizer, and you're going to run the first color stop of the design, which is the placement line for our first piece of Sulky Felty. So after you do your placement line, you're going to spray the back side of your Felty with a little bit of KK2000. If you want to, you can also use our Sulky Clear Embroidery Tape. Here it is right next to me. I absolutely love this stuff because it's repositionable, it's reusable about 3 or 4 times, so you can get a lot of use out of it. And if you accidentally place it on your fabric and you stitch over it, it tears away really cleanly along that stitching edge, if I can get a hold of it properly. So see how it tears away really nice and cleanly? and really easy to get it off of your project if you accidentally stitch over it. Here, I'll do it again just to prove it to you. Very cleanly tears along the edge. And you can make smaller strips of it if you need to because it tears away so cleanly. So if you want, you can use this and apply it along each corner rather than using the KK2000. But at any rate, we want to stick it to that stiffy stabilizer right over the top of those placement stitches so it doesn't go anywhere. Then you're going to place your hoop back onto the machine with your Felty in place, and you will do the next color sequence, which is the tacking stitch that secures the Felty to the stabilizer. Now we are going to sew out all of those beautiful decorative elements of the design following the color chart. So again, some of these are neon, some of it is glowy, some of it is going to be the Sulky Poly Deco. So you really want to consult your color sequence chart to make sure that you are using the correct color in the correct order. Because again, you know, when you're using a thicker thread for a certain part of the design, it's going to have less density or more sort of air between the stitches to accommodate that thread thickness. So we don't want to use the wrong thread thickness for those areas, or we'll have a bunch of open spaces, you know, let's say in the teeth or what have you. All right, so once we get all of those decorative elements to the air freshener, or to the sugar skull, I should say, since we don't have to use it for an air freshener, then it's going to stitch out a little line for the top. See that top opening? And then for that jawline. These are going to be the open areas of our little sugar skull cover. So we want it to look finished in these spots. So you're going to go ahead and do that part just on this black Felty background. Of course, you could use any Felty you want here, but these neon and glowy colors really pop off of that black Felty. Then we're going to remove the hoop from the machine. Don't disturb anything in the hoop, and we're going to flip it over to the wrong side. Now you are going to place your back Felty piece over the top, again, either using that KK2000 temporary spray adhesive or some little bits of tape along the corners. We really want this to be stuck on here well, so that when you place your hoop back onto the machine, the Felty doesn't roll backwards or get caught on the machine bed. Because then what can happen is you start the machine and all of a sudden it's struggling and you don't know what's going on because you can't really see your Felty underneath. So you really want to make sure it goes on and is stuck there, doesn't roll when you're putting your hoop back onto the machine. All right, so now we're going to switch to that glowy thread. All right, and we want to use glowy thread in the bobbin and glowy thread in the top. This way, our ornament or our sugar skull, whatever we're using it for, glows from the back side and from the right side. So we're going to only put about a third or a half onto the bobbin. Wind it slowly, as slow as it'll go. Treat this like you are winding some invisible thread, all right? So wind it slowly, wind it only partially, and then we're going to thread our 9014 needle with that glowy thread in the top as well. Now we're going to sew out the rest of the skull, and you're seeing it from the wrong side here. So you can see how there's an opening at the top and an opening along the jawline. If I were to show you the right side, it would just look like the skull outline. So I wanted to show you only the parts that are sewn in this last step. All right, so now we're going to remove our stabilizer from the hoop, and you want to tear away the stiffy stabilizer just beyond the perimeter of the skull. All right, so you don't have to worry about any of the stabilizer that's behind. It's going to remain intact, and nobody's going to see it because it's covered up by that back Felty piece. All right, so you're going to carefully tear that away along that outer stitching line so there's no trace of it beyond the seam line. Now you can take your very sharp scissors and cut about 1/8 of an inch away from that outer stitching line. You can get as close to those stitches as you want, as you're comfortable with. I like to stay about 1/8 of an inch away just to give myself, a little bit of security so that I don't accidentally snip into those stitches. So just be really careful and go along the outside edge. This is getting really, really close to those stitches, but you can see she did not stitch or cut through any of those stitches. Very, very important. All right, so now you have your finished little sugar skull, and you can open it up and you can put your lollipop inside or a piece of candy inside. A little fun size chocolate bar would fit perfectly in there. So you can use it as little party favors like that, or you can insert your air freshener tree. You can put a little bodkin on one end and thread it through so that that elastic edge comes out in that little top opening along the skull, and then your tree fits nicely inside. You may find that you either have to sort of bend the tree just a little bit just to get it inside of there, or you can even just trim off the little edges along the outer, widest part of your air freshener. But I find if you just bend it a little bit to get it inside and then just kind of snap it back, it fits nicely into your little sugar skull. So again, you could also use this as a gift bag tag. Put a little note inside, hang it from a gift bag, and you can even use it as a little ornament. I love, love, love using it as a little lollipop cover. I think that's just absolutely adorable. So you can get a lot of use out of this design collection and use it in some different ways. And again, we have these kits back in stock, so you can grab up a sugar skull kit. You can get the full design collection with all 3 sugar skull designs, these 5 sheets of Sulky Felty, the 1-yard pack of Stiffy, an entire assortment pack of neon thread that you can use for tons of Halloween projects, as well as that spool of glowy thread, which will also come in handy for your Halloween pet pillows. So if you grab up this kit, I'm sure you'll have enough glowy thread, depending on how many ornaments or sugar skulls you create, of course. And then the poly deco threads, as well as some bobbin thread, is also included in this kit, along with that pack of needles. So lots of different uses for that great, great kit. Let's see. Marianne is saying, what about using pinking shears to cut around the edges? Great idea. Adds another little decorative element. I love that. If you have pinking shears, absolutely give that a try. Let's see. Marianne also says, I've used a lot of Sulky Sticky Tearaway on projects and really like the way it tears so cleanly. Yes, and along that outside perimeter stitching, we've gone around it so many times that by the time your sugar skulls are complete, it's pretty well perforated for you. So you can just tear away that heavier weight stabilizer, no problem. And another benefit of using that Stiffy versus using Tear Easy is that it gives some structure to your sugar skull so that it's not floppy, right? So we're keeping it in place, and it's going to hang nice and straight over time. So you won't have curling edges on your little ornament or air freshener cover or whatever you end up using it for. So Betsy says, I need some Felty. Get it, girl. All right. Oh, great question. Lois says, can these threads be pressed? Thank you so much for asking that. You cannot press the glowy thread. If you put a hot iron onto that glowy thread, it's going to melt, okay? And I will say your iron has to be very hot for this to happen, but I generally always have my iron really hot. And if you press over the top of that glowy, your thread is going to just be, it's going to look like some kid slime has dried onto your project. So be really, really aware of that. Do not touch your hot iron to the glowy threads. Thank you for asking that. All right. Let's see, Catherine says, my daughter-in-law always sets up a big Day of Dead display with pictures of all the children's dead relatives. These would be a beautiful addition that you could use year after year. Absolutely. I love the idea of hanging these up, on the ofrenda. If you are familiar with the Coco movie or this is part of your culture, you're very aware of that. But if not, I encourage you to check out that movie. I know it's a kid movie, but I love it and watch it every year around this time. It's such a great movie and explains that part of, that culture. And it's just, I can't say enough good things about it. All right. Love the little pillows, Sandra says. Great idea for the Halloween season. Sue O'Very is brilliant. She is a brilliant designer. Check her out and check out our Sugar Skulls webcast. We also have a really cute candy corn zipper pouch that Sue designed for a different Sulky webcast. So I encourage you to check that one out as well. She just has such a cute creative mind and is such a really great teacher as well. All right. Brenda says, we'll be making for the grandkids. All right, great idea. Tracy says, I use the glowy thread to quilt my Halloween quilt. Love it. Yes, and again, I used it to quilt this bat table runner. So when the lights go out, there's a little bit of a glow, or a lot bit really, because I really quilted it a lot. It's kind of hard to tell so far away, but yes. Sam says the Sugar Skulls are so cute. All right, perfect. And just to let you know, or just to remind you, that is our giveaway today, is a kit for our Sugar Skulls project. So you could be the winner of this fabulous kit valued at $68.99. And again, you get the full design collection that comes with this kit as well with purchase of the kit. So make sure you are putting something in the live chat, giving me those thumbs up. Make sure you have either liked us on Facebook or subscribed to our YouTube channel in order to win our gift today from Sulky. And don't forget to grab up our free dog and cat applique templates on the Sulky blog. The link to that is in the description of today's post, so you can grab up these templates absolutely for free and have fun experimenting with Sulky Felty and Sulky Glowy threads. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining me today. I hope I got you in the Halloween spirit and ready to stitch up some spooky creatures for the Halloween season as we get closer and closer to the big day. And, of course, I will have all kinds of Halloween inspiration all month long. So be sure to tune in next week for another So What? And I also want to remind everybody that next week is our T-shirt quilts video cast. So make sure that you have registered. We will be going through this 5-in-1 t-shirt quilt. There are 5 patterns that come with this pattern. And when you register, you get this pattern for free. And you also get a collection of 5 embroidery designs from embroiderydesigns.com. So make sure you are registered for our t-shirt quilts video cast happening next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time over at sewingonline.sulky.com. Go register for that, grab up your freebies, and join me next Tuesday to make an awesome t-shirt quilt or t-shirt projects. Because I'm not going to only talk about quilts, we're going to be talking about using t-shirts in different ways to create lots of different keepsake gifts. So it's going to be a great time, and I hope to see you there. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.